The art of seduction is a nonverbal language that you must master. It's a language of the gifts that you give. It's a language of how you smell. It's a language that you communicate through the eyes, et cetera, et cetera. And the thing you have to understand about the human being is that we evolved for a much longer period of time without words than the small 40, 35,000 years that we have symbolic language. So during that vast period of darkness where we did not have words, we were communicating non-verbally. We were picking up signals from people. We were watching every little detail of their behavior because we didn't have words to decipher it. So it's wired into our brains to have an amazing sensitivity to people's nonverbal communications. We can almost be telepathic that way if we learn that language. The problem is we have the capacity, but we don't develop it at all because we are so word-oriented. You're just listening to people, if you're even listening to them at all. You're just hearing the words, and you're so thinking that the words mean something, that the words are sincere, which they're often not. At the same time that you're listening so much to words, people are shuffling in their chair. They're kind of looking away. They're looking at other women or other men. Their voice is kind of trembling when they say something where it shouldn't tremble. Their eyes are dead. The smile is kind of fake. You're not watching any of it. So the most important thing in nonverbal communication, law number one, is pay attention to it continually. Develop the practice of shutting off the words and watching people almost as if you took the television and muted it, right? And just watch their behavior. It's not easy and it's not natural because it's the words. We want to focus on them, right? But your ability to turn that television off, to mute it, will suddenly open up so many things about people. They reveal so much things. Sigmund Freud said people are continually oozing out all of their secrets through their nonverbal behavior. You can read them like an open book if you master this language. And I have, in The Laws of Human Nature, I describe the story of Milton Erickson. I don't know if you're familiar with Milton Erickson, perhaps the greatest modern master of nonverbal communication. He was an amazing psychologist. He sort of is the inspiration behind help me out here. Neuro-linguistic.
Oh, the
NLP.
NLP.
I mean, it's kind of a bastardization of his ideas, but he created hypnotherapy. He's the person who created hypnotherapy.
Certainly, hypnotherapy is a valid psychiatric practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's excellent clinical data to support it.
Well, Milton Erickson had polio when he was 19, and he was paralyzed. His entire body was paralyzed. He couldn't even move his eyeballs, right? And he sat in bed, and he had a very active mind. And he was going to just die from sheer boredom. And what he did during the 2 years of being paralyzed like that was just watching people's nonverbal communication and making notes in his brain and learning he learned the 20 different forms of yes, the 100 different forms of no, right? Every intonation, how somebody entered the room, how they left the room, how they looked at him with the pity or empathy or something. He mastered it. And then when he became a psychiatrist and he treated people, they thought he was psychic. He could see everything into them. It's because for 2 years, that's all he could do was observe them. He couldn't speak. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't read a book. So you have that same power, but you don't have polio, obviously. But you have to first pay attention to it, right? It's an amazing thing once you do. It's a lot of fun, actually. And I tell people, go to a cafe one day in your city, wherever you live, and just watch people, because you can't hear them. They're a few tables away. Watch their nonverbal behavior as they interact and see if you pick up cues from them. And there are things that are signs of genuine emotions. So, for instance, an exercise you can do is you go up to somebody from an angle where they can't see you coming up to them, and you surprise them. You go, hey, Mike, whatever. They turn. For that second, their expression reveals how they really think about you. You'll detect if you can pick up micro expressions, and you can. They're only like 1/150th of a second, but they're there. You can express a kind of, and they smile. You can see the little disdain in their eyes, right? then the mask comes on, right? Or you're talking to them, they're looking at you, but their feet are facing in an opposite direction. That means that they're dying to get away from you, kind of thing. These are signals that you don't necessarily pay attention to. Their posture will tell you everything about their levels of confidence, right? On and on and on. The fake smile, if you can just master the ability to detect the fake smile, it will go wonders for you, because you're able to see what you really want to do is to see the person with a genuine smile, particularly in romantic relationships. Someone whose face lights up, a real smile lights your whole face up. It just doesn't light your mouth. These parts of your face go up, your eyes get alive. There's like a neuro thing going on in your brain that's changing your whole facial expression. And it means that someone genuinely likes you. They're genuinely interested in you. They're genuinely laughing or connecting to you. Man, if you can see that, it'll help you so much in the romantic realm, and it'll help you get away from those toxic people that are continually faking interest in you. Because a narcissist, a toxic person, thrives by deceiving you with a charming, alluring front that makes you come into their world. Then they can hurt you, then they can do something to you, right? Then they have you in their trap. Right? So being able to see that they're not genuinely interested in you, that they're faking it, will help you avoid very toxic relationships. And as I said to you, I don't know if we were on air or not, but deep narcissists have dead eyes. They almost can't help it. They can fake the smile, they can fake everything else, but the eyes, you have to be able to read it, because you say, well, what are dead eyes? You'll know it when you see it. There's no life in them. They're like looking through you. They're not looking at you. They're looking through you. What can I get out of you? You're what they call a self-object. They're an object for you to use. And that's how they're looking at you, like they would look at a hammer or something.
Yeah, the concept of dead eyes and also alive eyes is so fascinating, because as audience of this podcast will know, that because I've said it too much, but I'll say it again, that the eyes are the only two pieces of your brain that are outside the cranial vault. I mean, they're literally two pieces of brain lining the back of your eyes.
Yeah.
And the dynamics of the pupils, those changes, of course, reflect how bright or dim it is in the room, but they also reflect levels of arousal that are on the millisecond time scale. Sure. So as one expresses, words of glee, right, the pupils constrict a little bit, believe it or not. Or dilate a little bit. I got it backwards there for a moment. And vice versa, as one feels less excited, moments of despair, expressions of despair, the pupils should get a little bit smaller, because arousal is going down. And so I think, we pick up on these things at an unconscious level.
We do.
The deadness of the eyes is kind of the conclusion that pops out at us if we're paying attention.
But the problem is it registers unconsciously, but we don't give it any value to it. Mm-hmm. We trust our words, we trust our rationality as opposed to our intuitions about people. So sometimes when you meet a person for the first time, signals go up in your brain, something's wrong about them. And then you forget it because you don't trust those initial unconscious signals that your brain is giving you, right? So you have to first kind of trust that these intuitions are very valuable. The other thing is, pay deep attention to the tone of voice. The voice, as actors will tell you, is like the hardest thing to fake, right? It's very hard to fake excitement. Your voice either has it or it doesn't. It's very hard to fake confidence. And books have been written about that. I'm not going to go into all the details about it. But a person will reveal so much of the emotions that they're experiencing, particularly levels of confidence. Like a trembling voice or something, or a booming, confident voice, which some people can fake, but often it's very difficult. You can still see through it. And on the level of seduction, men are very, very attuned to the voice of a woman, but we're not aware of it. Because the voice of our mother had an incredible impact on us in early childhood. Her singing, the tone of her voice, that was probably the first seduction that we ever went through. And a woman's voice has tremendous power over us, right? And so hearing a voice that kind of grates or irritates you is something that's a bad sign. And that goes deeper than all the characteristics that we were talking about. But a woman's voice that kind of reminds you of that mother, that sing-songy, whatever feeling it was, that's somebody that can very easily seduce you.
Yeah, there's a place for naming this. It's like subcortical courtship. Below the cortex, as the geeky neuroscientists like myself say. You're getting down below the cortex with all of this stuff. Convergence of real loves and desires. I mean, we express with words. We sense the world using, of course, our cortex, but we're really talking about getting into the subcortical stuff that is the stuff of our history, the stuff of our hardwiring and our uniqueness. I couldn't help but think about the fact that earlier we were talking about the now, infinitely vast number of choices of things to engage in, people to engage with, etc. But at the same time, as you were now talking about these micro inflections and the subtleties of voice and bodily communication, that whether or not it's emojis or people sending filtered images or the default to text message communication that is so prominent now, it seems like we now have more choices, so more input, but the sort of qualitative differences between the inputs have been binned into a couple of simple bins, as if we've regressed to primary colors only. But the canvas is huge, or I don't know if that analogy works, but you get the idea. Because ultimately, in order to develop good choices about profession, romantic relationships, friendships, you need a lot of examples and a lot of information that allows you to glean the subtlety. But as long as it's emojis and filtered pictures taken at a particular angle, usually from above, ask for the picture head on and below. Send me a picture of your worst expression. All of that. It seems that there's now increased opportunity for deception. And I don't just mean people misleading others. I also mean us misleading ourselves. Oh my goodness, how could I be so disappointed yet again about a particular landscape of life? And it doesn't just have to be romantic interactions. It could be other landscapes. Like, how could I be fooled? Well, you're fooled because the inputs were deficient, not good data, as we say.
Well, the thing is, if things are you're immersed in the virtual realm, it's very, very hard to master the nonverbal communication aspect, which is so important. So if you're dating from an app and you're flipping through and then you find that person, you've missed out on the greatest experience of life, which is actually having to go out to a bar or go to a restaurant or go to a social event and have to literally encounter another person and deal with looking at their behavior and kind of assessing who they are. It's a muscle that you have to pay attention to nonverbal communication. And if you're just, going through the emojis or going through the Tinder apps, that muscle completely atrophies. You have no power. You're not able to decipher anything. And that's what's happening with a lot of people who are using these apps. Social skills are like any skill at all. You have to develop them. It's a muscle you have to develop. And you've all noticed this probably in your own life. If you've gone through a period where you're kind of retreating, you don't want to be around people, and you spend a month like that, and then you go out, you feel awkward. It takes you like a couple days to get used to being around other people. You say stupid things, your body language is all awkward. But if you're in a situation for months where you're constantly interacting with people, you're on a film set and day in, day out, that skill starts developing. But you have to be out there in the world, you have to be interacting, you have to be looking at people's emotions, you have to be gauging them in real time. We're not built for virtual encounters. We're creatures of flesh and blood, and we need to be looking at each other in the eye and paying attention to all these little details, these nuances that you can only get in person.
Along those lines, what are your thoughts about AI and how that's going to shape our sense of self, sense of others, and relationships? As if that's a topic that could be covered in a series of minutes. But what are your top contour, maybe even deeper thoughts about AI?
Well, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, but I'm kind of very concerned about it. I mentioned before about anxiety, the role that anxiety plays in thinking. You come upon an idea and you go, yeah, that's so good. And then you go to the next level and it becomes better. And you go, oh, maybe that's not so good. Then you go to the next level. You go to level 3 and it gets better and better. You have anxiety. Another aspect of intelligence is self-awareness, right? The ability to look at yourself, go, I have biases. I have confirmation bias. I have conviction bias. I have recency bias. I have to counteract these things. I also have a dark side. I have aggression. I have to be aware of how they color my thinking, my emotions. The third quality that goes into intelligence, I'm talking about now intelligence, not artificial. Intelligence is the ability to deal anxiety and go to a third level. Intelligence is the ability to look inside of yourself and see your own biases. And the third thing is the ability to see a holistic picture, the kind of aha moment that scientists have, where you accumulate all kind of data points, and then out of nowhere, an image comes to your mind of, yeah, there's the answer. You see the whole thing. You see the whole gestalt, right? Simone Weil compared it to a square cube. You can only see a cube from one side, or you can never see a square cube. You can only see a side of it. If it's rotating, you're still only seeing sides of it. Only in your mind can you picture the whole thing. So the mind has to go through a process to have holistic thinking. If they can invent a machine that can deal with anxiety and has anxiety and can go to level 3, if they can make a machine that can be self-aware, that can go, the people who program me have biases, therefore I have biases. I also have a dark side because people have programmed me who have a dark side. If this machine can also think holistically beyond all of the data points and all the massive information it's combined, it can have that aha moment. All right, I can see a human consciousness. I can see creativity there. The other thing I would say is, when I was a student at Berkeley, going way back, I was 19 years old, I decided one summer, it was a big paradigm shift for me, I'm going to take this class in ancient Greek. In 6 weeks, they teach you a year of ancient Greek. That means every day you have an exam, every Friday you have a final exam, 8 hours every day of a dead language. I thought this would be the best discipline for me after someone who'd been doing too many drugs, to be honest with you. Okay? And so finally, at one point, they give us this paragraph of the hardest ancient Greek writer of all to read. This was near the end, Thucydides, or Thucydides, as they say. I stared, so I had like the whole night to try and translate one paragraph. I couldn't figure it out. You have to understand the weirdness of ancient Greek, all the endings, the weird ways of thinking. The whole picture, that aha moment was eluding me. At one point, I thought I got it, and I translated it, and I gave it to the teacher next day. I remember he was this kind of hippie that you'd have at Berkeley, Dennis, classics professor, but also a hippie.
The fact that you knew his first name is very telling.
I can only remember his first name, Dennis. He said, Robert, I can see your thinking, but you need to go to another level. You didn't have that aha moment. You didn't put the whole thing together. You were close, but you didn't. You have to try harder. And that stuck in my mind forever. Like, whenever I have a problem, I have to think harder. I have to go to that next level. Now, what would happen if I had pulled out my translation of Thucydides and just copied that out, right? Or what if happened if I put it through ChatGPT and it gave me the translation? That muscle in my brain that I have developed for 40 years that allows me to write books would never have developed. And that muscle is, I don't know the answer here. I have to go to another level. I have to try harder. I have to think. I have to have that engine whirring around, right? But if I just grab for ChatGPT, it's deadened. And then we're going to have a whole generation of people who stop thinking, who don't go through that process. You know, you've heard of Douglas Hofstadter, I think. He said, people train to go to Mount Everest. It takes months, physical exertion, it's painful. Then they climb Mount Everest, they see the top. Whoa, what a great moment. He said ChatGPT would be the equivalent of taking a helicopter to the top of Mount Everest without any of that training and having the same moment. It's not the same, right? You need to go through that process. You need to go through that pain. And if you just, and the thing of is ChatGPT, we think we're so modern, so sophisticated, but really we're just seduced by magic. You put it in there and you see the script going, whoa, it's like magic. It's like a magician. but it's empty. It's like not your brain functioning, right? It's the pagan part of us. We like that kind of magic, as opposed to actually having to go through the thought process itself. So I'm not against having tools. I use tools. I use the internet. I use Google. I'm searching for like some factoid from my book. I find it. I use it. I like it. But I've also learned to develop my brain to think, to get that engine constantly moving. And I'm deeply concerned about people who can't learn a foreign language, who can't master anything, who just immediately grab the first answer that it generates, et cetera, et cetera. I have concerns.
I am too. And I was thinking a moment ago that, like some people might hear what you just said and say, oh, well, the same thing was probably said about the automobile. Like how many amazing experiences of walking from one place to another are going to be lost when people start driving from one place to another. But I think a key difference, and this certainly aligns with everything you just said, is that what you're talking about is not just arriving at the same destination. You're saying the destination itself is different when one exerts some effort and experiences some anxiety to get there. So it's not the same as automobile versus horse versus walking versus airplane.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally different because the journey transforms the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you about many aspects of AI. I'm also excited about it in the context of certain things.
I agree with you. It could be a tool, but are we operating the tool, or is the tool operating us, is what I'm talking about.
I am concerned a bit too, especially in the context of what we've been talking about for most of today's discussion, about avatars replacing our online personas too much. The avatarization of ourselves is already taking place through filters, through reduction of emotional expression to emojis, through reduction of language to a diminished number of words to explain one's feelings. A prior guest on this podcast, Lisa Feldman Barrett, who's an expert in emotions, talked about how the moment that a culture has a word for a particular subset of anxious feelings. So for instance, she taught me that in Japanese, there's a word for the sadness one experiences when they get a bad haircut.
Yeah, I know.
And so that normalizes the feeling and leads to feelings of less despair, as opposed to what now many kids especially grew up learning, which I'm anxious, I'm sad, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
In science we say there are lumpers and there are splitters. And they've been arguing for years about, like, is that one brain structure? Well, if I name those two things next to each other, two different things, not only can I name one after myself, which is what tends to happen, so to speak, but when you have too many lumpers or too many splitters, things are either overly simple or overly complex. That, of course, the right answer, the best use of naming things arrives someplace in the middle.
Right.
That's how a field progresses. Because if you lump things together too much, a field can't progress. You give yourself the illusion that it's progressing, but it's not progressing. But if you split things up into a million different subcategories, like just even the word adrenaline is also called epinephrine. And it has to do with basically people arguing over who got credit. Crazy, and it's confused people for decades. Yeah, and there's another story there and I know far too much about the scientists involved, and there was a love triangle about naming of certain parts of the nervous system. People sleeping with other people's partners and love triangles have created more drama of nomenclature in science. I could do a whole hour on this.
You have that same power, but you don't have polio, obviously. But you have to first pay attention to it, right? It's an amazing thing once you do. It's a lot of fun, actually. And I tell people, go to a cafe one day in your city, wherever you live, and just watch people, because you can't hear them. They're a few tables away. Watch their nonverbal behavior as they interact and see if you pick up cues from them. And there are things that are signs of genuine emotions. So, for instance, an exercise you can do is you go up to somebody from an angle where they can't see you coming up to them, and you surprise them. You go, hey, Mike, whatever. They turn. For that second, their expression reveals how they really think about you. You'll detect if you can pick up micro expressions, and you can. They're only like 1/150th of a second, but they're there. You can express a kind of, and they smile. You can see the little disdain in their eyes, right? Then the mask comes on, right? Or you're talking to them, they're looking at you, but their feet are facing in an opposite direction. that means that they're dying to get away from you, kind of thing. These are signals that you don't necessarily pay attention to. Their posture will tell you everything about their levels of confidence, right? On and on and on. The fake smile, if you can just master the ability to detect the fake smile, it will go wonders for you, because you're able to see what you really want to do is to see the person with a genuine smile.